All right, what's up, guys? I am recording this, and we're just going to go. I'm going to try to make this as fast as I can, but just understand that it does take a little while to explain this. I know that you're all wanting to know, hey, when's the market going to keep going up? Can I go ahead and buy altcoins now? That sort of thing. Unfortunately, nobody really knows what's going to happen. If we're going to dip a little bit first, or if we're just going to slowly chop and grind up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you historically what's happened around this time of year, especially around all-time high breaks, and maybe that will give us a little bit of a context. Just realized that I'm using the word a little bit too much, so I'm going to stop doing that. So let's see. I've got the all-time high. What is this, from 2017? We're going to mark that. Let me make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. Yeah, okay. So we've got our all-time high 2017, we've got our all-time high 2021. And what I've got marked here is December 7th, 2020. And notice how, first of all, I'm always going to start at the highest chart that I can. I mean, monthly is probably a little bit too much. So we're looking at weekly. And notice, this is why I call it the chop or the grind up phase, before the big push, before real alt season starts. I mean, we've really not seen anything yet, right? Yeah, Cincy has done like whatever it is, 8x or something, but you're going to see every single token doing that eventually. Some will do 10x, some will do 20x, some will do 100x. It's hard to know which ones will do what. But just notice how, as this started hitting the all-time high area for the 2017 top, this was in 2020, and your weekly candle, it kept having trouble. It would hit the top and then it would reject, hit the top, finally got above it here, and then eventually about the middle of December into the full moon phase, which is generally bullish. And I could show you that actually. Did I save that? Moon cycles. I'll have to step down to a lower time frame for this, but it should pull up the moon phases here in a second. Once I go down to a lower time frame, yeah, it should, okay. So yeah, we had a big breakout above the all-time high back here. What did it look like here? I think we already had our breakout, yeah. So we had two big green candles, actually three, and now it's having a lot of trouble breaking through that. So is this a fib level? Yeah, it probably is. Yeah, look at that, 1272, hit it almost exactly. It's probably just because I don't have the line correct. Yeah, maybe I do. Oh, there it is. Okay, I did have it wrong up here. So see how that hit the 1272 exactly? You would probably be able to go to total 3 and other charts and be able to see something similar. So remember, we were talking about 100K being a mental stop. It's an area where a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's going to have a lot of trouble at 100K, or maybe retail is jumping in at 100K thinking it's such an important level that it's just going to keep going. So retail doesn't really know what it's doing, number one. They're just watching the news cycles. I mean, some of you might think you're retail, but you're not. The fact that you're in this Discord tells me you're not, because most of retail, all they're doing is watching the news. If they see something about Bitcoin on CNBC, they're not in any Discords. They're just out there living their life, doing their job. And then all of a sudden they hear something about Bitcoin and what's his name? Kramer talking about how Bitcoin's not going to stop. It's just going to keep going. We take that as a reversal signal, even if it's a short-term one, because typically that's what he does. He tries to he tries to post something or say something that will get retail to FOMO in, and then that will be exit liquidity for smart money. Or maybe the big players, they need a lot of money coming in so they can exit. And when I say exit, it's not the top of the market. It's just, a temporary top, kind of like it was back here. So just getting back to this, and we're going to bring up the moon cycles here in 1 second. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a chop up, grind up phase. Now, could we see something like this, where there's some kind of rejection retest? Possibly, but it's probably going to happen higher up, where there's a bigger pullback. But I do think they are manipulating, retail here currently. So give me 1 second here, and then I'm going to show you the shorter term time frame, what we can expect, or kind of what should happen, in my opinion. I'm not saying it will. I'm just going to tell you the logical thing that could happen. So let me jump down here to like a day. Well, maybe 3 days enough. Okay, there we go. So now we're looking at moon cycles. And the thing you need to know about them is typically, this is a full moon. I've changed it to where it looks like a full moon. This is a new moon here. So typically when price is going up in an uptrend, your bottom signal is going to be the full moon. It's not going to happen that way exactly every time, but you can see, well, like when things are going sideways, there's no indicator that can help you. But when you're going up, when things are trending up, typically your full moon, this here on the bottom, is going to tell you this is a good time to enter. Right here was a good time to enter. Here, 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 here. Now, as things started rolling over, of course, the new moon takes over at that point. And now your new moon, if you're shorting the market, becomes your area that you say, okay, this is a good place to take a short. So here was a good place to take a short. Here was one. But then things turned around again, and now full moon takes over. So it's hard to do this in real time, but if you're in an obvious bear market, you always want to be shorting the market on a new moon or close to it. I mean, look how it was perfect every time. Hopefully this is making sense. I don't know if maybe I'm not making sense with this, but basically the idea is if I saw a new moon in a bear market, I would take an entry or enter a position there, and then I might exit it on a full moon. And then on the flip side of that, if we're in an obvious bull market uptrend, I'm going to take a position, which would be right here on the full moon. And then I'm going to possibly exit it on the new moon here, but maybe not. If I'm just holding to the top of the market, which we're watching for the top of the market, we'll be watching that for you, then maybe I'm just holding all the way until I get that signal that it's time to get out. So anyway, we will be doing some shorting, once the market's done and it's the bear market, but you don't really have to worry about that yet. I actually had a request to talk about kind of like the whole process of leverage trading, and I will go through that at some point. I don't have time to do it just yet, but I will do that soon. So let's see, what are we looking at right now for the moon phases? You can see here, this was exactly the same as what we just talked about. Anywhere here was a great time to buy on the full moon phase. And then you could have, bought here, sold here, but then you would have been in trouble because things took off on you. Here was another good place to buy on this full moon, but now we're into the new moon, right? So, the question is, do we just go sideways here? Is there a possibility of a pullback? And yeah, I think it's probably more possible that we have a little bit of a pullback here, but the issue is it could just keep going, because look how many days away. We're just 3 days away from the full moon. I mean, this is why it's difficult right here, because this did a bull flag. Sure, this was a great time to enter on full moon, and this was a great time to exit on new moon, but then it just bull flagged, and you couldn't really use any of these signals. You could have, but you wouldn't have made much money. And that's what I mean when I say sideways markets. There's no indicator out there that's going to help you. You just have to wait till it breaks out or wait till it breaks down, either way. So let's just turn that off. Excuse me. So we'll turn that off. I mean, engineering robo does keep you out of long downtrends and keeps you in the uptrend, so that's good. I mean, if we turn that on just really quickly, I mean, of course, this is a 3-day chart. You could have stayed in as long as it was above the green cloud, even if you got sell signals on the way up. But it chops you around a lot more on a daily chart. So this was a true sell signal here. This was a true sell signal here because it got into the red cloud, but currently it's green. But I didn't really intend to talk about engineering robo. Let's look at, here, let me just draw some lines real quick. So if we connect the previous tops here, I think it's something like that. It's pretty close. It may not be exact. Let me just see if I can move it around here. Yeah, that's about right. So notice number one, when I'm connecting these, notice how this, this wick of this weekly candle touched that perfectly. Then it broke above it, and now it's acting as support currently. So I want to make that clear. Let's see. Hey, Epi. Yeah, good to see you too. I'm good, man. Okay, so we're always wanting to go to the highest time frame we can first to draw our lines, and then we'll move on from there. I don't really see. I would say because of this wick right here, well, there's some horizontal areas we could draw here, maybe, I don't know, somewhere in here. Because I've got a wick coming up that rejected, and then I've got wicks coming down where there's obvious people buying here. So if we just kind of step down here and see what else we can see, maybe the daily chart would be best. So here's another line I can draw. Or is it this one? I think it's this one. So let me get rid of some of this so it's not too cluttered for you. We don't really need it anymore. So remember, this line here is the trend line from 2021. So I've got that one there. And I also want to do this one. Maybe that. I had one drawn before and I can't remember how I had it. I got rid of it earlier. Maybe it was this one. Yeah, I think it was this one. I wonder if I could just take this. I mean, this is all kind of guessing. It's guesswork. You know, just thinking that some of these lines could play out. What I'm trying to do is connect as many of these wicks and candle bodies as I can. I think that might, yeah, okay, so I like this. So notice how we kind of have a parallel channel going on here. And there's two possibilities. Either we just keep grinding up and break out again, so it would look something like this. Where's my thing? Here it is, okay. So, you know, some kind of grind action, finally break out, retest, and then it's off to the races again. And at some point in the future, like we were talking about way back here in 2020, you are gonna get, you know, a further move that wants to come back and flush out a lot of longs, you know, all the leveraged longs, and then it starts working its way back up again. So this is gonna happen in the future for sure. It's just hard to predict it. And, you know, just because you're seeing these lines here doesn't mean I know exactly where it's going to happen. My target is about 197K for the top of the market. And hopefully that happens in October 2025 because we want this to drag on as long as it can. Because that means higher valuations for everything. So this is one option. And this is the other option. So this would be around 85K. And then eventually this comes out of here and kind of follows this line and then takes off. So really, I mean, looking at this, it's like, it's no big deal, right? It's just going to take some time to play out, possibly. I mean, it could just keep going. What do the moons look like here again? Okay, so you got a new, oh, that's not daily, okay. All right, so we've got this new moon happened at the end of November, which I had told everybody the end of November is probably going to be where we see some kind of pullback, but I could be completely wrong. You know, in a bull run, you know, things can just keep pushing and pushing, and it's irrational because there's a lot of liquidity out there. So the question for me is, here in 3 days, yeah, it's the 12th right now. So in 3 days, we've got the full moon. You know, do we have, I don't know if I have a circle thing that I can show here. I don't know, whatever. We'll just call that the full moon here. So in 3 days, full moon, does this thing, you know, do something like this where it's ready to take off? I mean, that would be more logical to me, that the full moon would keep it moving. But if it doesn't, if we can't get above the all-time high in the next 3 days, I would say this becomes much more possible. And then what does that look like? Well, let's just forget about this one for a second. If we call this the new moon, which I guess that would be end of December. I'd have to look and see when it is. Sometimes it's early in the next month. So maybe this new moon here causes this instead. Yeah, it just goes sideways for a while, and then this pushes it down at that point. And you may be asking, well, is there a possibility that it goes further down? I mean, there is, but you know, what if we just go ahead and retest this breakout? Yeah, I mean, it's possible. You know, 75K or so, it could happen, but I don't know. It seems less likely at this point. I kind of feel like this parallel line is going to hold. I'm just trying to imagine in my mind what this pattern is, because you can find these patterns, by the way, where it's done this before, and I've showed one recently. It's this one right here. I wonder what the moons were doing at this time. Yeah. So this is kind of that idea, right? I mean, this one even got above, and then it rejected, you know, it grabbed some liquidity above this previous local high, and then it dropped it, which it's probably like a, 20% drop? Yeah, 20. So that's what I would expect. If that is going to happen, let's just say it gets barely above. Yeah, that would pull us right back to the line, depending on where it happened. So that's about 85K. That's where the 85K idea comes from, just so you know. So here's one instance that happened. Let me find you another one. I think it probably happened in, what's that one? It's just kind of the same thing. So in this cycle, we've seen 20% pullbacks for the most part. I mean, you're seeing me do this in real time. I haven't, you know, I didn't go through and plan any of this. I'm just winging it basically, but you're kind of seeing how I would study something. Fractals can help you, but they're not always going to be perfect either. Is this one? Let's see, a grind up, push down, up, and then another down. This was, yeah, so this was near the all-time high, wasn't it? Okay. So if we put a line on this, it actually broke below it a little bit. This is in 2020. So it's 16%. So yeah, I mean, I really don't expect anything more than like a 20% dip if it was to happen. And you may be asking, well, you know, how does that affect alts? Yeah, some of them can bleed. I mean, the thing that you need to keep in mind is if you've got a token that's way down here near support, it's probably not going to bleed as much because we're in a bull market. But if you got something like Cincy, where is it at? Cincy. Can't find it. There it is. You know, so Cincy has had a massive move. It needs a rest at some point. We don't know when that's going to happen. Could be right now. But just understand that when you start hitting 5x, 10x on a token, generally there's some kind of rest period. So these are the tokens that would pull back more because they've already made a move. So you had a, 2x move, and then you had it's about a 4x move, and then it had a little rest. And now where is that? Well, you know what? I'm not even going from the bottom here, am I? So that was a 2x or 1.5x. This was a 2x roughly. There's a 7x, and now it's above a 10x. So in a case like this, I would definitely suspect that it needs a rest, but you just never know, right? I mean, I don't know what the fib looks like on this. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't hit the fib just yet. Doesn't mean it has to, but this is based on math, so you know, it is a possibility. And I think Tatiana might have posted something today to this effect that it could hit 0.14 or so, and that's really close to that. Okay, so yeah, any questions y'all have, you know, feel free to ask. This would be your time to ask them. Maybe this doesn't make any sense, maybe it does. You know, it doesn't have to be the all-time high that this happens at. These patterns happen all over the place. So if you want to call this, you know, we'll just call it resistance because that's basically what all-time high is. So back in 2020, we had a resistance here. It kept having trouble getting over, and then all of a sudden it got over it, and now we have a very similar pattern that we're seeing currently. So actually this is a very good example of what is going on currently. And let me bring it up side by side so you can see it. All right, so let's go back to our current view. Somewhere here, here it is. And we'll just see what the worst case scenario could be, because that's what this is showing, I think anyway. Let's see, daily, okay. All right, so we're calling this the all-time high, basically, just as an example. Break above. Kind of the same, right? Long consolidation, breakout, uptrend. Looks like it wants to grind higher, then it fails. Needs a little bit more consolidation time, breakout. This took, man, that looks so similar, doesn't it? So this took August, September. I mean, I'd be surprised if it took 2 months, but I guess it could. You know, this is just kind of like the worst case scenario in my point of view. Again, these do not have to repeat. This is just one idea that could happen. So let's just call this what it is. You know, it's a consolidation breakout. Consolidation breakout. I mean, these lines aren't going to be perfect, but I'm just going to delete some of these so it's not as confusing. Move that to a 2-day. Okay. So tell me that doesn't look the same. And then you've got this grind up, falls below, rejects. That's what you'd be watching for here, by the way. And this is how you really, this is how you decipher what's going on, you know, with TA. Do I want to use that? Yeah, I guess it's fine. I guess let me go back to daily so I can see it more closely. So yeah, I mean, doesn't that look similar? You got like a head and shoulders type situation going on here. The shoulder's higher. I mean, maybe it's going to create another shoulder first. Doesn't have to. I mean, the head is actually lower than the shoulder, so I guess it's not a true one, but you know, what if we went to like a 6 hour or something? Yeah, it's not a true head and shoulder, but you can see, I mean, it's sort of like one. You know, maybe this is the right shoulder. So yeah, what we would be watching for here, which, you know, you always need invalidation, you always need proof first. You have to see this first, right? Because that's exactly what happened here. Down, rejection. Actually tried to come back up and it rejected again. So what was this dip? I mean, we can't really compare dips necessarily from what am I thinking? From cycle to cycle, because, you know, it's less volatile now. So here's a 20% dip, but in 2024 or 2025, a dip for the current cycle could be less. You know, it could be 15%, 10%, we don't know. It would be nice if it would just get the dip over with, though, if it's going to do it. I mean, that's kind of what we want, right? So what am I doing currently? I am keeping some money on the side just in case. Now, if price took off, you know, if it broke all-time high, I think you still have to be careful because they could be faking people out. But yeah, I guess if I saw, the thing that I would be watching for is if I saw this right here where Bitcoin dominance lost this support that I'm watching, then that would give me a lot more confidence to go ahead and, you know, enter more altcoins. That's only if I don't get a dip. So if I get a dip, then I'm going to start accumulating. But if I don't get a dip, and, you know, of course I'm in altcoins right now already, and most of you are, and I recommend to be in some already, just in case price keeps moving. but we need to keep some money on the side just in case, and not financial advice is what I'm doing, just in case. But there's no confirmation yet that this is going to happen. It could just keep grinding up and take off. So I just want y'all to be aware of that. Yeah, this looks very similar, right? But I mean, you can't just blindly say, this is going to repeat. Actually, it looks more like that. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Let's see, Epicure, what value was that next fib hitting? I don't know, did I answer that? Maybe not. Oh, the 1618, that would be like 035. So it's 015 is the next, and then the one after that is 035. I mean, this is based on math, but it, like I was talking about before, the market's unreasonable sometimes. I mean, even this target, it could just blow through that target at some point. I know this is the target she had set. We just don't know, right? I mean, from the bottom, that was roughly, I mean, that'd be 100x. So from the bottom, I mean, this is probably a pretty good target to watch for this cycle. But eventually this one's going to have some kind of pullback, and it's going to have to rest a while. So if you want to lower your risk, then you want to look for tokens that are still down here near support and bullish line. I mean, I'm going to go heavy into Cincy if it does have a pullback, but I'm just not willing. I mean, a lot of you know how I trade. I'm not willing to chase candles and stuff. I mean, I'm already in Cincy with a little bit. I wanted to buy more, but that was my mistake. I put my buy zone here and it just barely dipped into it. I was buying back here. I should have bought immediately when I saw that, and I didn't do it. Especially this bull flag right here. Well, I don't want to make this too long. Have we gone 27 minutes now? I'll go like 3 more minutes. Yeah, just let me know if none of that or if any of that didn't make sense for you. There's definitely, I'm just trying to look for maybe some kind of example where it kept grinding up. I'm sure there is one. I mean, fractals are fractals. You just can't. I mean, this is actually another example where it rejected. Same kind of structure. Yeah, I mean, these are distribution structures, really. I mean, a lot of retail are going to see this and just say, oh, yeah, we're going straight up. I'm just trying to find one. I mean, this is very similar as well. I mean, it's more flat, but it did the same thing basically. And I know this is harder for y'all to see if you don't do TA all the time, but basically this equals this, and this equals this. You'll notice that sometimes these structures are more flat. This one's more vertical, but it's basically the same. Like if I went down to a 6-hour chart on what I was just looking at, you can see it better. Like if we just highlight just this area. I don't know, it's real choppy, it's hard to see, but there's kind of a head and shoulder type thing there. I probably have to go to a 12-hour. Something like that, yeah. So you can see why I'm hesitant to say that, yeah, we're just ready to go. What else do we have? Yeah, that's kind of the same structure, consolidation. Anytime price goes down, it's actually bullish in a bull market. Oh, you know what? This may be a good example of one that, is this one, is this a grind up? Yeah. Okay, so here's one of your grind up phase examples. I'm glad I saw this one. So it's kind of similar, and then you have a big breakout of it, and eventually it causes a pullback back to that level. So if we were to just keep going, then this level somewhere in here is where the pullback would happen eventually, months later, days later, weeks later. Yeah, Epi wants to look at Quill. Yeah, it hadn't been doing too well, has it? My idea was that maybe it was forming, back when I just saw this, maybe somewhere in here, I was like, well, I talked about it in video or something. I said, well, maybe this does like an inverted head and shoulders. For Engineering Robo here on the daily chart, it's been red for a long time. It turned gray, meaning there's a possibility that it might have a buy signal soon. There might be a change here in price action. I'm not seeing any like bullish divergences or anything that we can use, but you can see here the RSI is positive as far as momentum. What else did I want to show on this? I'm trying to think what I was going to show. Oh, I know what it is. The cloud. So the idea here is if this is an inverted head and shoulders, the target would be approximately 150% for the first take profit. And the reason for that is you can measure from the top of the head to the neckline right here. Of course, this is more of an angled neckline, so I don't know that this number is going to be perfect, but where did I measure it from here? Yeah, it's close to that anyway. I didn't know where the other neckline was at the time, but it's pretty close. But you can also see how thick this red cloud is. And if it starts to break up into the cloud and start closing higher, higher lows, higher highs, then you can see Engineering Robo is also giving you an area where you could take profit right here. Now this is going to move because it's a moving target. It's kind of more of an average of the last days of price action. So this could be up here, as price goes up. But if you saw this, and I'm trying to think of a token, there was one I saw the other day. Was this one? No. There was one that I saw that rejected the cloud perfectly. I don't know, this isn't really one, but just notice how when you break out of the cloud, sometimes it comes back and retests the cloud, and this is a perfect place to buy. Anyway, I don't know where that example is. I'd have to look for it again. SVPN looks like it's doing a bull flag here, maybe. Oh, here it is. So Catalorian came into our buy zone. You could have bought there. It pumped up. If you would have had your cloud active, you could have just taken profits right there. I know it's tough in real time, but that's one thing you can do. And look, in this downtrend, as it's coming down, it's rejecting off of the cloud. So that tells you it's not really ready yet, but it is in our buy zone currently. What is the fibs on this? So from the breakout, yeah, it's hitting the golden pocket here currently. So I could see this finding a bottom soon. I mean, it could come down to 786, but you're buying in a pretty good area regardless. I don't recommend trying to catch a falling knife, but anyway, you're trying to get as cheap as you can. Yeah, you're welcome for sure, Epi. Appreciate y'all jumping in and watching it with me. Okay, well, let's just end it there. We're about 33 minutes in. I'll post the recording if y'all join late or anything, or especially for the people that missed it. And, ask questions in Discord if you have anything that I didn't cover for you, or if something wasn't quite clear, and we'll do more of these in the future. All right, well, it's almost the weekend. Y'all enjoy your day, and remember to take some time off this weekend for sure. Touch grass, and you need to get away from crypto for a little while. It's pretty important for your mental, right? It's okay for me to go crazy, but y'all can't. All right, y'all take care.